Okay, how's it going, everybody? How's your pregnancy? What do you need? You guys know you can always DM me on Instagram at birth.story.academy. Like, I love interacting with you guys. Send me a DM. Let me know what's on your mind. Today is the start of a two-part series, two parts of a story with Tallulah Duffin. You guys, she is vegan AF. You know what that means. Duffins on Instagram, on their YouTube channel. And we are here today to talk about being vegan in your pregnancy, vegan breastfeeding when there's no vegan formula, raising a vegan baby. If you are even remotely interested in learning about empathy and compassion for animals and why vegans are vegan and how to incorporate this lifestyle into your pregnancy and into your family, this is the episode for you. But it was so much content and so amazing that we had to do her birth story in part 2. Sneak peek, the next episode, part 2, Tallulah got freaking COVID at 38 weeks gestation. Her water popped and they wouldn't let me, her doula, come with her to the hospital. Level 1000 devastating. But it's such a gorgeous birth story. So, dive into this episode all about entrepreneurship, all things South Africa, coming to the United States, opening up restaurants, being a vegan, how to incorporate really essential things into your pregnancy and your vegan journey. I mean, it's a great episode. All right, ready? Let's get to it. What does a contraction feel like? How do I know if I'm in labor? And what does a day of labor look like? Wait, is this normal? Hey, I'm Heidi. My best friends call me Hides. I'm a certified birth doula, host of this podcast, and author of Birth Story, an interactive pregnancy guidebook. I have supported hundreds of women through their labor and deliveries, and I believe every one of them and you deserves a microphone and a stage. So here we are. Listen each week to get answers to these tough questions. Birth Story, where we talk about pregnancy, labor, deliveries, where we tell our stories and share our feelings. And of course, chat about our favorite baby products and motherhood. And because I'm passionate about birth outcomes, you will hear from some of the top experts in labor and delivery. Whether you are pregnant, trying desperately to get pregnant, or you just love a good birth story, I hope you will stick around and be part of this birth story family. So let's say you're pregnant. That's why you're listening to the Birth Story podcast, and you're preparing for a hospital birth that's upcoming. And of course, this podcast gives you tons of free information, right? But do you really understand the stages of labor? How to know when you're in labor? What if you have to have an induction? What about a cesarean section? What about all of the decisions that you have to make once you get to the hospital? So you get there and then they put you in triage. Birth Story Academy walks you through all the things that happen, like that rapid fire with monitoring and blood work and questions and IV ports. And do you want an epidural? I don't know. Do you? In Birth Story Academy, we literally break down all of those decisions. Pros, cons, risks, benefits, intuition. And we get into it. We make birth plans, we do birth visions, we listen to birth affirmations and parenting affirmations. And at the end of it, you know exactly what's going to happen when you go into labor and when you get to the hospital. What's going to happen after you give birth, newborn care preferences, how to take care of your baby. I guess what I'm getting at is, if you're not in Birth Story Academy, what's your plan? I want you to come join me in Birth Story Academy and let me walk you through all of the decisions that you have to make if you're having a hospital birth, and how to have body autonomy and how to have informed consent and informed refusal. I'm going to teach you and your partner, if you have one, everything that you need to know about birthing in a hospital so that you can walk in that door with some swagger, with some confidence, wash that anxiety away, because you learned everything you needed to learn in Birth Story Academy, and you are ready to crush that birth. Okay, let's do it. And let's get to this episode. Hey, Tallulah, welcome to the Birth Story Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I am very excited to have you on today to be talking about being a vegan, having a vegan pregnancy, raising a vegan baby, maybe babies, wink, wink, in the future. So I can try to be your doula again. And we're going to tell your amazing birth story about you and your partner and coming down with COVID and in the middle of COVID and then going into labor. So this is going to be a great episode, Tallulah. I'm really excited. Let's start off with just a little bit about who you are and the background of your businesses.
Yeah, so I'm Tallulah and I'm married to Richard, and Daisy Moon is our first little baby. We originally South African, so we 100% South African. We moved to the States. It's almost going to be 3 years. Actually, this month is 3 years. So yeah, we moved with a little bit of a purpose. We wanted to try and live a more purposeful life, should I say. So we are actually coming from a medical background of hair restoration, and we have always had a passion for food. And back when we decided to go vegan, we just kind of realized in South Africa, being such a huge meat-loving country, there just wasn't any food options. And literally, unless you went home and made yourself something, there's nothing you could just pick up from the shop, or you could just order online, or go into a restaurant. It didn't exist at all. So we kind of saw that there was a gap, but most importantly, if we struggle to go vegan, how on earth were other people, going to try and transition to veganism if, they couldn't buy anything? And I'm talking about just even a carton of almond milk. It was really hard to find. It was at a certain specific store. So we opened up the first vegan restaurant in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. It was supposed to be like a little coffee shop, and it turned into a full-blown restaurant. So, we opened that up, and we absolutely loved it. We had the most amazing response, and just that feeling of living a kind of more purpose-driven, making a difference, and, planting the seed and educating others. It felt good, and we wanted to do more of it. So we had the opportunity to either expand more out in South Africa, or, to go overseas and see how it would go over here. My brothers lived in Charlotte, North Carolina back then for about 6 years. So we've traveled quite a bit, but we thought, it would be easier to go somewhere where we had a little bit of family, just a little bit of support, because everybody needs support. So we branched out, and it was a really difficult, challenging process. But nonetheless, we managed to set our hearts in Noda, which we absolutely love now. It fits us to the T, super eclectic, kind of creative, artsy. I don't know. There's just kind of like a sense of freedom in Noda. It feels good. So we kind of went out on a wing and a prayer, and we secured a location in Noda, and then that's where Omasol kind of birthed from for the USA. So we opened that up, and it was really different.
Good.
Being South African and being vegan, we had an amazing response. Now today, 98% of all of our customers are not vegan, and that was the goal, because it's very well to have vegan customers, but then we're not kind of putting it out there or transitioning new people or planting the seed. So knowing that, it means we're kind of doing something right. So we've got a huge outdoor space. We opened 10 days before COVID. So that was just like the nail on the head.
Hilarious.
So 10 days before COVID, we couldn't have any indoor seating, and we had to pretty much adapt. So we closed down the inside. We opened up our patio, which is like a 150-seater patio. And we have a full-on bar out there. It's a bit of like a tiki-style bar, or one that you would find in South Africa. And that's how we did COVID. And we kind of just triumphed through it the whole way. I think a lot of people got into a negative mindset where they were like, oh, what now? Whereas, I think being South African and where we're from, we just like exceptionally hard kind of work is we just, in South Africa, we say like we mark fast, and that means like we just get through it. And that's what we did. And, now today without the COVID, we do live music out there. It's really beautiful. We have herb gardens, and people come there for an experience. We've actually got a full-on deli inside. We do the most amazing like vegan cheeses and all those things that non-vegans really struggle with in terms of the transition. And so that's where Oma Soul is now. We're actually busy expanding up to Uptown. That's going to be the next one. So that's how we came to Charlotte. And yeah, we're loving it at the moment. And we miss home a little bit, but we are trying to really, really push spreading this vegan wave of just love, empathy, and compassion with these Oma Souls.
Yeah, you are spreading love, empathy, and compassion. Few questions. South Africa is a giant country. So, what
Yeah.
specific city or cities are you from? And where is the original Oh My Soul in South Africa?
My husband was born in Johannesburg and I
Okay.
was born in Durban. But we kind of got this thing of once you've lived somewhere for 10 years, you can officially say you are from that province. So we are Durbanites through and through. So we're from the beach. It's a coastal town right on the tip. And that is where Oh My Soul is too, in Durban North, literally almost on the tip of Africa.
Oh, awesome. The audience
Yeah.
here, Tallulah, knows that like over the course of, I don't know, almost 200 episodes now, I've shared my journey of going to South Africa and playing soccer there for 2 years in a row, and 29 and 2010 as we got ready for the World Cup, and then was
Yeah.
able to go all over the whole country and watch tons of soccer games at World Cup South Africa 2010. And so it was really wonderful to have gone to Durban and to Johannesburg and to Cape Town and to really hang out in your beautiful home country. And so when you said at the beginning, like, it's really a meaty place. I mean, I was introduced to like eating meats I'd never eaten before. That's how meaty South Africa is. Like, they're like, would you like some springbok? Would you like some ostrich?
Yeah.
Some really interesting flavors and spices, especially to accompany the meat. And so I am just very curious, how did you and Richard, like, where did the concept of being vegan even come from? How does that start for someone or for you guys?
So we have dogs. We have 4 dogs that we actually saved and brought over with us. So I think that if you have a dog and you experience that loyalty and love, you are a dog lover. And then that kind of branches out into an animal lover. And for us, there's a very big difference. We're not plant-based, we're vegan. A lot of people get mixed up between the two. So plant-based is you do it for health reasons, but sometimes you'll eat fish, sometimes you'll have some cheese, that kind of thing. So we vegan, we do it for the empathy and we reap the benefits of the health. So we are 100% vegan for the animals. We do it for the compassion. We just, we feel that, to not inflict pain and suffering on another being is something that everybody should kind of be striving for, especially in the 21st century when there's such amazing alternatives. My husband will tell you, you've seen him, Heidi, he's really big, athletic guy, rugby player. And like you said, we brought up in a meat culture. So it's like braafvleis. So that would be something like a barbecue, but bigger cuts of meats, like big steaks and chops and that kind of thing. So one signature thing in South Africa is boerewors, and that's a specific sausage that we make. And a lot of the casing is made out of like an intestine, and the spices are a coriander, and a lot of black peppercorns and cloves, etc. So this is how we brought up. But like you said, lots of spices. Anything that you spice or flavor is going to taste good. So meat without spice and herbs and stuff doesn't really taste like anything. So that goes along with, what we kind of do at Oh My Soul is we make the most amazing boerewors. The South Africans come there and they're like, no way that this is vegan. So we've kind of mastered it. That's something super signature. And then we make the droewors, which is the biltong, the dried, in America, they'll say jerky, but we're all kind of passionate about what we do. So we always say like, no, it's so much better, but it's really, really good. We use like a malt vinegar in there. So we also make that at Oh My Soul. So we do a lot of meat alternatives because if that's what people want, that's totally fine. We can give that to you, but without there being an animal involved. So when I went vegan, I was vegetarian first. My husband wasn't vegetarian at all. And then one day we went to church and they were doing this dress, and the guy was talking about, purpose driven life. And he was saying that, how do you find it? And he said, well, what rocks your world? And I'll never forget sitting in the chair thinking, animal cruelty rocks my world. Like I just can't stand it. And that's pretty much where it never left me. It always was in the back of my mind. Like, so you can do more, you can do more. And that's kind of where it birthed from. And then the one day, I am the type of person, I do expose myself to see what's going on. I don't believe in being an ostrich and sticking my head in the sand. So I watched Earthlings, and it was mind blowing for me. It's something that you can watch on YouTube, and that just shows what goes on today. And especially being a mom now, when I watch the dairy industry, oh my goodness, it broke my soul just watching those mommies. So I woke up and I said to my husband, that's it, I'm going vegan, I'm going to try it, And he looked at me and he was like, wow, that's like really extreme to do. Do you think you can do it? And I'm an Aries. I'm really like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, watch me, So, and he's also an Aries, so he was like, okay, well, don't make me anything different, I'll just go with the flow. And that was it. That was the end of it. We never looked back, and we realized actually it's not that hard. It's just this kind of stigma attached to it that you're giving up so much. But in the beginning, it wasn't really yours to take, was it? So it's just more of a mind thing. And I think the biggest thing where people struggle is making that emotional connection. Once you make an emotional connection of beings' feelings, and they cry real human tears like us, etc. Like, once you know that, you can't unknow it. And that was the big thing for us. Like, now my husband is the biggest, like, he will speak to anybody and anyone about it, because he will always be the first to say, like, I was the biggest meat eater, So we're not perfect. We're so far from it, but we just try and be like real and raw and open, because, it was a journey for us, and we love to, help others on it.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is very beautiful. I am not vegan. I'm one of your customers. You guys, Oh My Soul is actually like 4 blocks from my house. So it's just like this amazing happenstance that I can just even walk there. I have had your biltong, a lot of your amazing pastries, your chicken, I'm like air quote, chicken nachos are fantastic. And the one thing that stands out to Lula, because I was kind of nervous to eat like something vegan. I
Yeah.
was thinking, there's no way this could possibly taste good. You guys, this is my absolute favorite restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina. I know you're listening from all over the world, but if you come to the US, if you come to the United States, you should put North Carolina and Charlotte, and specifically NODA. That's North Davidson. That's our arts district. We have lots of cool little like breweries and shops and a crazy amount of good restaurants. But Oh My Soul is at the top, and it's the flavor. So Tallulah, I would like you to share. I'm just so curious. Like, whose recipes are these? What spices are you using? Like, the whole city is literally on fire over here because other vegan restaurants have tried. They don't even come close, right? Like, it is the best. I would choose this food over any restaurant in Charlotte, hands down. It is so good. You have no idea. If you go into it with that intention, with that emotional connection and that empathy. But like you said, 98% of your customers are just showing up for
Yeah.
really good food. And then we're learning while we're there about why we're eating the types of food that we're eating. So like, how does it taste so good?
I think the spices have got a lot to do with it. Everything is, we try and be like 100% authentic. So a lot of it is like my grand's recipes. And then a lot of it is my recipes, because I've always loved cooking and baking. And, it's in the South African household back home, that's like something huge that, it's just in our culture. So we make a lot of the spices, mixes ourselves, for example, biltong mix and a boerewors mix, etc. And that is kind of the key to the flavor. We do like spicy food, but a lot of people think like spicy means hot, like blow your brains out. It's not. Spicy means flavor. Mm-hmm. So we use a lot of bird's eye chili that we import, and we make a house-made peri-peri sauce, which is in a lot of our which is in a lot of our items. And obviously it's house made, really, really good ingredients, but that bird's actually is something that you get in South Africa everywhere you go. So a lot of people are closed-minded and they come there for like, I just want something really bland. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, we have nothing bland. So then I always like, we'll put a sauce in the side and be like, just be open-minded, just try it. And so when they come back and be like, oh my gosh, can I buy a bottle of that,
Yeah.
But the funny part is that we have an amazing bar with amazing cocktails, honestly, like to die for cocktails. And we do a lot of South African wine. And a lot of the cocktails we've actually now brought in, for example, like Inverroche gin, which is so good if you've ever tried it in South Africa. But a lot of people say they don't come in to eat, especially the guys. And then they get to have a few drinks. And then they're like, oh gosh, I'm getting a bit hungry. I'm sure I'll find something inside, because they're not vegan. They come in and they buy, for example, those nachos are like huge, but they'll do nachos or they'll do a Gatsby, which is our version of like a Philly cheesesteak. And they'll go and they'll like be eating their fingers and they're like, oh my God, that's so good. And then lo and behold, the next week and they'll be there with all their buddies, and now they're like trying to convince their buddies in their front, like, I promise it's vegan, but it's good. And it's just so funny. It's so good to see because, we laugh about it, but it's just, I don't know why humans have just we're so closed-minded, like we're so scared to try things when like we've got nothing to lose, So a lot of the customers have been with us for a long time and they appreciate, the flavors. And, I don't think there is anything like it in Charlotte. And that's what we're trying to do is be different. We're always trying to push the bar or be out there, especially in terms of veganism. We launched a new menu and we brought on a lot of like seafood alternatives now. We kind of listen to what the customers want and it's been going incredible, like loving it. People are loving it. So, yeah, I mean, it's always, even for us, people be like, how long have you been in the restaurant business for? And I'm like, well, 5 years, people think we've been doing it for years. So we're still learning along the way. We're just trying to keep really true to ourselves, and along with it, people don't even realize they're contributing to, more of a compassionate world, which we absolutely love.
Yeah. Well, so again, you guys, if you come to Charlotte, you have to stop by Oh My Soul. It's amazing. One of my favorites is the mozzarella sticks, and they
That's so
happen to
good.
be gluten-free. That's another thing I
Yeah.
really appreciate about the Oh My Soul menu is not only is it vegan, so much is gluten-free. And so for those of us with celiac, it's a really easy stop and introducing, ways in which to eat. We shouldn't be eating meat every day. We know that. So just really introducing ways to like incorporate that empathy and that compassion for animals into our daily life. And just also to like you said, the added benefit is a plant-based, diet, which is very healthy for you. So everything you're doing is amazing. And
Thanks, Addie.
where we're going with this story, you guys, is this is going to lead into the craziest birth story you've ever heard in your life, right? Seriously, we're going there. And I was her doula-ish, we're going to say ish on that. So you open this 10 days before COVID, and then at some point you get pregnant. Okay.
Yeah.
Had you thought about being pregnant and vegan and what that, like what your body would need and what your baby would need? Like, how did you come to that? Like, I'm going to be vegan throughout my pregnancy and I'm going to raise a baby purely vegan.
So for me, to be honest, it was never even a question. It was like literally a no-brainer. I think a lot of people around me more so asked me the question of, oh, are you going to remain vegan or are you going to raise your baby vegan? And for me, a lot of people think vegan is a diet. Like, hell no, vegan is a lifestyle. We eat, breathe, sleep veganism. So, I knew my body was healthy and I always try and live a balanced kind of lifestyle in terms of what I eat and in terms of moderation. And I knew if I was healthy, my baby was going to be healthy. So falling pregnant was an exceptionally exciting thing for us. So when I did fall pregnant, I think the first thing I did in that step was the prenatals, just to make sure. But finding a good vegan prenatal, well, that was another story. But I did manage to find one, and that was the Mama Bird. I can't recommend it enough.
Okay.
Honestly, anybody who is vegan or wanting a more natural supplement, and they also do the DHA, which is made from a seaweed. That and along with prenatal, I used it my entire pregnancy, even after I gave birth, and it was amazing.
Let's link to that in the show notes, the mama bird. I'm so glad
Yeah.
that you mentioned DHA with seaweed. I'm going to simmer there for just a moment. I have a lot of clients that take a fish oil and then they don't understand why they're having trouble nursing. And I'm like, because your breast milk tastes like fish. It
Fish.
doesn't
Yeah.
taste the way it's supposed to taste, which is like a sweet, creamy milk. If y'all have never tasted breast milk, you know, watch some of my Instagram stories because I have had the breast milk of my clients who were positive for COVID in hopes of getting some immunity. So it should be very creamy and very sweet. It should not smell or taste like fish. So the seaweed or a plant-based DHA is very important, vegan or not. So the mama bird, we're gonna link to that. I think that's so important. That's like your first big Tallulah tip right there for
Yeah.
pregnancy. And so did your midwife have any issues with like did they raise any concerns about continuing a vegan diet in pregnancy?
Yeah, for sure. I think I think the moment that I told them that I was vegan, immediately it was like, what do you eat? That literally was the next question. And I kind of prepared myself for it, and Rich, he was with me. And I said to Rich, well, they're gonna gun us about what we eat. And he was like, that's such BS, because you don't people who are not vegan are not technically healthy, and people who are vegan too are not technically healthy. We could eat just the like frozen processed food. I expected it. So I kind of mentally prepared myself that no matter where I was going to go, people were going to ask me these questions because I was vegan, right? So I told her that I was vegan, and immediately it was like, well, what do you eat? Okay, so what did you eat yesterday? What's your, and to be honest, I was so sick with morning sickness, I couldn't even think about food. So I basically walked her through, what I'd normally eat, a lot of smoothies, lots of green stuff, a lot of vegetables, and then we eat a lot of like black beans, lentils. We do amazing kale salad. I think Rich lives off kale salad, but a balanced life. So loads of fruits. I love fruits. I love all fruits. So good. So I went through it, and immediately she started talking to me about iron infusions. So I was like, wow, we haven't even done any tests
Like
or
no blood
anything, and
work?
we're blood work, and we're already there. So
Yeah.
I didn't really appreciate that, because I was just like, wow, it's showing me your lack of knowledge when it comes to veganism. I see so many, even moms commenting on doula groups or just birthing groups or what to expect, saying, oh, my iron is exceptionally low, or I'm anemic, what can I eat? And immediately people are gunning for all the iron rich foods, when people forget, like, so iron needs to be absorbed, right? So you need um, vitamin C to be able to absorb iron, else you can eat all the iron food that you want, but it's not going to be absorbed. And the thing, so
Mhm.
people kind of forget about that. So, the vitamin C would be like your strawberries and your broccolis and that kind of thing. So, I'm pretty much well educated on all of that stuff. When you are vegan, I think it's part of the journey to obviously be healthy and eat nutrient dense foods. So I was very calm when she spoke to me about it. I said to her, I'm infusion. I don't think I need one. I'm not anemic. And she was like, oh, well, we'll do the blood work and we'll see, pretty much like kind of saying, oh, well, I know better. You probably are going to need one, and you might need two. One closer to, I think it was the 23 or 24 week pregnancy mark, and one earlier on. I was very calm though, because I always think to myself, like, I know my body better than anybody else, and I know I don't need it. Even though it's not a bad thing to have if you do need it, it's just the kind of stigma that bothered me, how she went there. But yeah, and then she was like, oh, are you taking any iron supplements? Which if you don't know, if you take iron supplements for too long, that can actually become toxic in your body, and you shouldn't take them unless you need them, you should rather try and get iron rich through your diet, So, yeah, that was a big one for me. She just gunned me about the food 24/7. But then the crazy thing was she walked out the room and I had a nurse pop her head around the corner and she was like, "Oh my God, I recognize your accent." And I was actually in an OB that was 45 minutes away from where I lived. So completely not in the area of Oh My Soul and I don't know a lot of people in Charlotte. I mean, we pretty new. And she was like, "You guys own Oh My Soul." I go there all the time. And it was almost like, I swear God sent her as like my little angel that day, because then she always made sure that she was my nurse when I went there. She just took a great liking to us. And I don't know what she said to that OB, but that OB definitely kind of changed her tune afterwards when she came back and she was like, "Oh, my nurse was saying that you own a restaurant." And all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, now you kind of like are respecting, me and what I'm saying." So it's just crazy how the universe works. But yeah.
That you
But yeah,
understand
throughout
food.
the pregnancy, they did do, I think they checked my hemoglobin, I think 4 times, and every single time it was above normal.
Yeah. And your ferritin
Yeah.
too. Those are two things that they usually check too, your
Yeah.
iron and then your iron stores. Because I see on your menu these smoothies that include these iron rich greens partnered with the vitamin C rich fruits. Like, not only are you preparing it for your own body in pregnancy, you're offering it on your menu to other people who are coming in to Oh My Soul for nutrition.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
so wonderful. Okay. So in pregnancy, here you are, you're growing Daisy Moon. We've gotten through the whole, OB midwife thing. What I hear from you, Tallulah, is that you just have to be armed with advocacy. You have to be
Yeah.
smarter than the provider about your own body and about your nutrition. And that's really important. If you can even decline those tests, that's up to, and I always say, no one can do anything to your body without your consent. So it sounds like you consented to the tests, even though that you knew that your hemoglobin and your ferritin stores were fine and your body is great. But I just want to encourage everyone too, like if you feel good and you don't want to take those tests, you also don't have to by any means. I do like your recommendation of being on a prenatal and a plant-based DHA. I think that's wonderful. You said you were very morning sick though. So what were you nourishing your body with? Like when she said, what were you eating? For those vegans out there, those aspiring vegans that are thinking about pregnancy or that are pregnant, what are some of the foods that like you really nourished your body with in pregnancy, especially when you were suffering from morning sickness?
So, to be honest, in the beginning, I could barely stomach anything. Um, it was really, really hard. But I think once you reach that like week 3, 4, it kind of gets a little bit better. For me, it was more the nausea than anything, and the smelling. So obviously, I'd go to the restaurant and I'd smell things that I love, and I would want to die. But getting to that week 3 and 4, I found like foods that had a very, almost like your diuretic foods that had a very high water content. Those were great. So I ate like a lot of watermelons, like I said earlier, like loads of fruits. So I'd live in that, and then I'd make smoothies into it. And you want to kind of avoid anything with super strong flavors like your celery and that kind of stuff, because it is overwhelming when you are nauseous. And then I would add a lot of like ice chips into the smoothies. So your green smoothies, I would do like your pineapple. I would do some like a little bit of mango. I would put some protein powder in there, and then I'd do like a little bit of spinach or kale. So it was like really discreet. And then I would basically blend that up with the plant milk. I try and do something really bland, like an oat milk or an almond milk. And that's what I'd kind of sip off during the day, just to kind of keep really hydrated. Because I knew that my body had enough in the beginning, for me to be okay. It was just a phase that I was going to get through. And then once I was through, I could concentrate more on what I was eating. But in the beginning, it's more of a survival mode of just getting through that nausea and that vomiting. It's really hard. But the main thing for me was just to keep hydrated. So like I said, super, super loads of water, and then fruits and stuff that have really high water content was my absolute go-to. And I got through it after 4 weeks. It was literally like a switch, and then I was okay.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for listening to Birth Story. My goal is you will walk away from each episode with a clear picture of how labor and delivery might go. and that you will feel empowered by the end of your pregnancy to speak up, plan and prepare for the birth you want, no matter what that looks like.